Welcome to this webinar brought to you from the RSS with the purpose of talking through our new 5-year strategy. I'm Sarah Cunders, I'm the Chief Executive of the RSS, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, our members, today about the questions that you might have about our strategy. And I'm really pleased to be joined today by Professor Jennifer Rogers, who led the long-term strategy group that was responsible for overseeing the development of our new strategy. And Jen is going to talk us through the strategy at a high level. We imagine that you've taken a look at the strategy document that's been published on our website. So Jen's going to talk about those goals and also the values that guide our work, and she'll also be saying a bit about how the strategy was put together. And then I'm going to run through the principles that guide how we're going to deliver the strategy and our priorities for 2024. But as I said, the key aim of today is to give you, our members, the opportunity to ask questions about the strategy. We're going to be using the chat functionality in Teams. Hopefully you all have access to that. So if you've got questions, please do pop them in there, and then our team will be picking those up and making them available for Jen and I to answer. So that's the way it's going to work. And we've got about 50 minutes available for the conversation. So the first thing I will do is just to hand over to Jen, who's going to talk us through our new strategy. Over to you, Jen.
Thanks, Sarah. And it's really lovely to have the opportunity to talk to you all today about this strategy. So I'm hoping that you've all had a chance to read it. With respect to the key goals or the main strategic pillars, these have remained aligned with the Society's charter. So I think there probably isn't a huge amount of surprise in the overarching key pillars, but I think it's really those activities that sit underneath that, that we've really been thinking about the challenges that are facing our profession and sort of what's changed since the last strategy. So within these pillars, these priorities are going to form the basis of the implementation plans that will happen throughout the life cycle of the strategy. So these key goals are enabling a strong and diverse profession. And that's so that statisticians and other data professionals are developed and nurtured to enable their personal growth as part of a well-connected community and ensure the sustainability of the profession. Facilitating innovation and growth so that opportunities for the development and evolution of statistical science and data disciplines are recognised and utilised, and expertise harnessed so that wider society continues to be advanced through the application of statistics and data science. So I think, underneath this pillar, we're really thinking about how we can be part of the big conversations that are happening with respect to key things, things like climate change, for example. How can we be making sure that we're on top of these emerging trends and thinking about the opportunities that they offer? Moving on to thinking about championing the public interest, that's so that societal decisions are informed and improved by the appropriate use of data and statistics that are reliable and are used responsibly, and that are relevant to the society's most important questions. And then finally, supporting the public understanding and engagement so that people have an understanding of the data and statistics that influence their daily life decisions, their work, and the world around them, and feel empowered to meaningfully engage with issues. I think this has been one of the big shifts that we've seen since the last strategy was written. I think that the public has got a different relationship with data and statistics compared to what they might have done 5 years ago. And I think the COVID pandemic really had a big impact on that. The public engagement with data and statistics, I think, data and statistics just got thrust into the limelight in a way that it had never done before. And we are now really seeing a change in the way that everybody engages with data and statistics. So moving on to values. So this is the first time that we've had values in our strategy document. It is common in sort of other strategy documents that we've seen. And really, these values provide purpose and direction, and they guide our work and the wider membership. So the values that we've landed on are collaborative, so working in partnership with others. And I think that's been a really common thread as we've been talking to lots of different groups, that through collaboration, you're really able to maximize the impact of what we do. We want to be impactful. So, harnessing the power of data statistics to support understanding, maintaining standards, ensuring quality, inclusivity. So being welcoming and supportive and a home to anyone who has an interest in data and statistics, and taking active steps to ensure that everyone feels included. And finally, we are progressive. So responding to real world challenges, evolving the discipline, and upskilling the profession. So just moving on to how we have developed the strategy. So the long-term strategy group first convened in March of 2023. We started out by carrying out a number of surveys, which should be regarded more as mechanisms by which members and other individuals could contribute their thoughts wherever they felt that was relevant. And it really allowed us to assess what the membership thought the society did well, what it thought it did not so well. Staff really thought about the tasks that they'd been getting involved in and the associated impact of those. Again, what were we doing well? What weren't we doing quite so well? And I was really keen to try and engage with individuals who weren't members, but we felt, maybe should be members, to try and understand, get some insight into what were the barriers for membership? What did we need to be doing to encourage more people to join? So we took the results of these surveys and pulled out key themes. We also had meetings with key external stakeholders. And all of this then was discussed by the strategy group, staff, and RSS Council. We came up with a skeleton strategy that we shared with these groups for comments. And we then went through an iterative process by which we had drafts that we again shared. We also shared all of these skeleton strategies and drafts with sections and groups within the society. So really making sure that across the society, everybody got the opportunity to look at the skeleton strategy, contribute towards the drafts, and really think about some of these key themes that were emerging. We had some focus meetings with members and external experts on 3 topics: data science, climate change, and education. But yeah, so as I said, we had this iterative process with lots of key individuals involved, and then ended up with the final document, which you have now been given the opportunity to review. Key themes that came out of those discussions were terminology around data professionals, the importance of member engagement, and clarity around our role as an international organisation. But I think I'll just finish my little bit by sort of really highlighting that importance of member engagement. And I think that this is a real first step of that today. When we were getting comments from a lot of people, I think sometimes there was this perception that the society was the staff who work, and that, we are members and then there's the society. I think I really want to finish by saying, we're a membership society. We are all the society. And we have got quite a ambitious strategy here. The indicative actions. So when we had our drafts, we had indicative actions that could sit underneath all of these priorities and pillars. And they were plentiful. I think the strategy itself says that there's endless opportunities really in the field that we work in. There are endless opportunities for impact. If we want to achieve all that we can achieve, we need membership buy-in. We want all of the members to feel ownership of this strategy and to feel excited about helping with its delivery. So I guess on that point, it'd be a good opportunity to hand back to Sarah, who is going to talk to you about some of the key thoughts around delivering the strategy. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Jen. That's really helpful. That's all clear to everybody. And please do have a look at the strategy online in more detail if you haven't done so already. So I'm going to talk now about the key principles that we've articulated in the strategy that will guide the delivery of the strategy. We've included these because they're important and because there are lots of things that we need to have in place to ensure success. So the first one, the first key principle is that our resources will be managed effectively to ensure future financial sustainability. And this one's so important because I'm sure you're all aware of the impact of the move to open access publishing on the income, not just but of all learned societies. And it's something that all learned societies have been thinking about in terms of how income is diversified, so that our work and our support for you and everything that we do can be protected in the future. And so we need to ensure that the strategy is delivered in a way that reflects that financial position. And I'll say more about this as I come on to our priorities for year one. The second key principle about delivering the strategy is that it's the importance of membership, and this builds on what Jen has just said. We need to ensure that the offering, excuse me, from the RSS is meeting your needs, and that's really important. Because, as Jen has said, our members are the society, and so much of what you do, and the time that you contribute drives the impact that we are able to have as an organisation, and therefore it's vital that what we do meets your needs as well. And so that's going to be another key focus in year one. A key principle around governance, ensuring that our structures and processes are fit for purpose, that they're efficient and inclusive. That's really important for any charity, but particularly for us to get it right as a learner society and professional body. It's important that our governance is working appropriately, and so we're going to be putting in place a review of how our governance is working. Then key principles around people, making sure that our staff and also our volunteers are enabled through a culture of through our culture and through practical support that's provided to them. And then the strategy also includes a principle around impact. Many charities are evolving the way that they plan and also they report on their work. So really focus on the impact that they have on society, and for us it would be on our membership as well, rather than just thinking in terms of outcomes and activities. So the actual, what that's been done, but actually what impact that's actually had, what positive change has been made. And so we're planning to take a similar approach, ensuring that positive change is explicitly considered in our work, and that's the way we're monitoring and reporting on what we do. And then partnerships is another really key important principle for us, both within the UK and internationally. Just as an example here as to why it's important, our work on climate change, the work of our climate change task force, that needs to reach audiences that the RSS doesn't have within our networks at the moment. So, for example, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, through our membership. And so it's only by developing partnerships with other organisations that do have access to those audiences that we can really achieve the impacts that the experts on our task force want to have through the work that they are doing. And then Jen has already mentioned that international was something that came up quite frequently in the work that we did in building the strategy. And so we're going to be developing an international strategy later on in the strategic period, which obviously will require strong international relationships and partnerships as well. And then the final bullet point, although obviously not the least important here, sustainability will be actively working to reduce our impacts on the planet. And that's something that certainly our planned office relocation will help us with. So those are the principles behind the delivery of the strategy. And then I want to say a little bit more about implementation and what we've got planned for 2024. This is a 5-year strategy, and so essentially the first year in this strategic period will be about building foundations, and Council have approved a set of key priorities for 2024, which we're now working to deliver. And these can be split into 3 key areas: creating a sustainable office, energising the membership and building on what we do well. And I'll run through these in a little bit of detail, just so that you're aware of what's included. So there is an accompanying document to our strategy that's on the website that covers these key priorities for 2024. And essentially, these will then be refreshed on an annual basis in line with business planning, so that we set our goals and targets for how we're going to be implementing the strategy. So I have already mentioned the need to ensure financial sustainability, and that's a key part of this first priority, building a sustainable office. We're going to be looking at the way in which we do generate income to see what can be scaled up and how we can diversify our income in future. And so that's a really key priority for this year. And then you're also going to be aware of our plans to relocate our central London office. And again, some of that is also driven by sustainability considerations. Street is in need of refurbishment, and we think that we can be much more efficient with the space that we need post-pandemic. And so that all builds on builds towards this key goal of building a more sustainable office. And then finally, I've mentioned the need for a review of governance, and so our governance structures will be looked at over the course of the next year. Again, that's about effectiveness, about efficiency, but also about inclusivity there as well. So the second key goal that we're aiming towards in terms of delivering the strategy this year is around energising our membership. And Jen has already talked very eloquently about this. Essentially, as a membership organisation, we need to make sure that we're doing all that we can to ensure that your needs as members are met and that you're energised to support the work of the society, as so much of what we do depends on members giving up their time. And this includes us developing a much more granular and detailed understanding of why individuals are members of the RSS and what the society does and can do in future to meet your needs. And so this more granular understanding is going to be developed through member research and focus groups, and will then feed into how the society is developed in the future. So that's going to be a second key strand of work. And then finally, the third key strand, building on what we do well. There's a huge amount within this priority that recognises that we've got really, really strong foundations to deliver on our strategic priorities. And so just to talk through a few of these, the first one includes our plans to build on our equity, diversity and inclusion work. So first of all, setting clear plans for our EDI committee, and we've got a workshop planned next week to talk about that and what those priorities are going to be. We've also got our new specialist interest group, the Celebrating Diversity Special Interest Group, that was approved by Council at a recent meeting. And so making sure that the plans for that are fully supported. We've also got our Future Leaders programme, which is being rolled out currently, that seeks to support statisticians from an ethnic minority background. And so you can see that we've already got a lot in place that builds on our priorities towards equity, diversity and inclusion. And then we're also going to be seeking funding for research, so new funding that enables us to better understand the diversity of the profession so that we can better plan our activities in this area. And then I wanted to just mention our policy and campaigns work. The team's going to be very busy over the next year, particularly as we anticipate it will be a general election year. And so we will have a campaign that we've already surveyed our members about to understand from you what you would like us to seek to influence the next government to do and to commit to. And so we've got some key messages there that we're currently finalising and will be launching over the next few weeks, focusing on our work around public statistics, around education and around AI. And the work for the general election campaign around public statistics also links in with the work that we've already started to take forward, building on the recommendations of the recently published review of the UK Stats Authority that was undertaken by RSS member Professor Denise Leasley. So we're already starting to work with the ONS on the design of the new statistical assembly that was proposed in Denise's recommendations. And we have been closely aligned with the UKSA and ONS to understand how they're going to be working on those recommendations and what the RSS could do to support that. I've already mentioned our drive to seek new funding for EDI projects, and then we will also be putting together proposals for other research projects that align with our strategic goals. So that's another part of building on what we do well. And then I also wanted to mention our new horizon scanning process. So this is one of the priorities that's articulated in the strategy, essentially to make sure that the RSS is well placed to keep our finger on the pulse of any opportunities or challenges ahead, so that we're alert to those and can make sure that we feed those into our planning. And so our campaigns advisory group have been considering how we might best do that, and we've got a proposal that's going to be considered by the executive next week. And so that's already been kicked off as well. Another thing that's already in train that we're going to be building on over the next year is our climate change task force. I've already mentioned their work, and so they've begun to develop explainers that will help people to understand the statistical principles behind climate change. And so they're now moving on from their work on 1.5 degrees to other areas as well. So the last thing that I wanted to mention under policy and campaigns is data science and AI. We heard from a lot of our members about the importance of this topic during our work on the strategy. And actually, there were quite diverse opinions here. There were many perspectives. Some people feeling that statistics needed to be better recognised as the founding discipline of data science. But also, conversely, many practitioners working in AI feeling that actually we should be giving a stronger voice to those working in the field, and lots of our members felt very strongly about that. And so we're bringing all of those perspectives together from, so joining together all of the groups that have some sort of touch point with AI and data science into a new AI task force that will help to set and then deliver on our granular strategic priorities in this area. And this will include some work around data ethics in the context of data science and AI, which was another priority that members told us was important and we should focus on in the future. So then I just wanted to give a mention to our professional affairs work. I know that many of you on the call may have moved through the RSS's professional pathways and may be chartered yourselves. So staying on data science, we've got further developments planned in our certification and accreditation services. So the team are working to apply to Privy Council for our data science practitioner qualifications to become chartered. And then we're also going to be working through the Alliance for Data Science Professionals on a programme to roll out accreditation of university data science courses. We're seeing we're starting to see a real contraction in the number of statistics courses in universities and a rise in the number of data science courses. And we need to make sure that, obviously with statistics embedding all of those courses across the board, that we still have a role in making sure that those courses are of high quality and fit for purpose. And so we will be rolling out that accreditation programme with the Alliance. And finally, I just wanted to mention one key relationship that we'll be focusing on this year, which is the new National Academy for Mathematical Sciences. You've probably heard about this. I know that we've kept our members updated on the progress towards the establishment of the Academy. We've been firmly embedded in how that work has been taken forward, and we will continue to be involved in that, making sure that data and statistics are at the heart of the National Academy's work. And they've got a lot of work to do, basically to build their reputation and ensure that they are able to influence to ensure that the pipeline for mathematical sciences is secured and that we're overcoming or we're using mathematical sciences in the right way to overcome challenges around productivity, around translation of research, etc. And that obviously impacts across many different fields. So as I've already said, these priorities will be refreshed in line with business planning. There's obviously a huge amount that I haven't talked about. I've gone into those plans for 2024 in a little bit of detail, but there's a huge amount of work that's just classified as business as usual that the team here in headquarters is still getting on with. So it's not to say if I've missed anything out from that presentation that we won't be doing it. It's just that I couldn't possibly begin to tell you everything that we're doing. I've just picked out the key priorities. And I hope that this presentation has given you a little bit of insight into our new strategy, how it was developed, how we'll be taking it forward. We're going to be encouraging all of our sections and local groups to think about how your work and your activities align with this strategy and whether there's anything more that you can do to support those goals in their current articulation and the priorities that we've set out within them. And we'll also be working with our advisory groups to make sure that their work is also aligned. And so that's the last thing that I wanted to say. We're going to be moving into the Q&A now, so please do pop your questions into the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. There may be questions that we can't answer today, and we're quite happy to take those away and check in with other members of the team. We'll give your question more considered thought. We can get back to you. And I don't know how many questions we're going to have. We've got about 40 people on the call, which probably means that if everybody asked a question, we may not be able to get through all of them, but we will do our best, and the team will be triaging those behind the scenes. So let me just have a look, find the right document with the questions in it. And I can see that we don't yet have any questions, which we thought it usually takes a few minutes for people to get into the swing of things. So Jen, I was just going to ask you if you could just reflect on opportunities and challenges that are ahead for the RSS, and so what are the challenges that we're currently facing, and what opportunities does this bring for us?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you did a wonderful job of articulating some of the main challenges when thinking about the implementation plan and what the priorities are going to be for the first year. I think I'd just like to start as well by saying thank you to Sarah for all the work that she's put into this, not only into the strategy development, but also thinking about how we're going to deliver it. I know that Sarah is really thinking about this hard, and I'm very excited about the delivery of this strategy with Sarah as CEO. I think that we're going to be able to deliver a lot in the next 5 years. But I think, yeah, some of the key things that you touched on, I do think that since I mentioned, since the last strategy that we had, the public relationship with data and statistics has changed. And I think the way that people talk about data and statistics in the general public, but also in the media, I think we have really seen a fundamental shift, and really thinking about how do people get their information? How do people engage with data and statistics? Really getting us to think about that so that we can then think, how do we contribute to that? We're wanting to aid the public understanding of data and statistics so that they can feel empowered. How do people get their information? I think the relationship with data science and AI was something present in the last strategy, but I think we've just seen this burst of activity in this area, and I think it's only going to increase. We've now got ChatGPT and other sort of large language models, and I think it's going to be really interesting as well to see the public engagement with that and the trust behind it, and I think we've got a really important role to play there, and it's how to make sure that we are engaging with that discussion and we do have a seat at the table, and that we're seen as a partner in all of these issues. I think the building relocation is going to be a challenge, but I think it's a huge opportunity. We've been talking a lot about member engagement, and I think really having this opportunity now to think, the building as it wasn't serving us very well. I know it wasn't a very pleasant place for the staff to be working with, just little bits of offices here, there and everywhere. So I think really thinking about what do we need in order to be a well-functioning society that has a home for members and can encourage collaboration. Really thinking about the purposes of the building, because the purposes of a building now are probably very different to the purposes of a building when we bought it. We live in a much more virtual world now than what we used to. Really thinking about what do we want to get out of a home, and it's an exciting opportunity, and I'm really excited by this broad applicability and relevance of data and statistics, which as statisticians and data professionals, we were all aware of. But I think that there is a greater appreciation of that in groups outside of us, and the opportunities that brings, people really understanding that data and statistics is embedded in so much. And I'm really excited by this horizon scanning and having these task forces that are really focused on these key topics, and that understanding, as I said, that data and statistics is embedded in so much. And I just think it's going to provide so many opportunities for us to get involved in so many different things and really maximize that positive impact.
Great. Thank you, Jen. And we do have a question from one of our members. Fiona has asked if we want to find out more about or get involved with particular aspects, for example, horizon scanning, how would we go about this? Fiona, we're always open to members coming forward and wanting to get involved in the work of the society, and particularly around horizon scanning. So the proposal that has been put forward to executive that was discussed with the campaigns advisory group was for an annual horizon scanning process, balancing the need to not talk about things so regularly that actually you don't see the thematic and the sort of long-term trends, but also not leaving it, for example, for the next 5 years until a new strategy is developed to do that scanning. And so the proposal is to have an annual horizon scanning process, which would collate a range of inputs into that process that then build to probably some sort of workshop that would be held in the autumn that would then align with the cycle of business planning for the RSS. So that if we need to, for example, make some investments, then we know at that particular time of year that we need to set some money aside in the following financial year to be able to do that. We would be engaging with all members in that horizon scanning process. So you'll probably remember the surveys that went out to the membership where we asked for your thoughts about the priorities that we should be looking at for this new strategy. Well, I think we will be asking similar questions about horizon scanning. So, what are the things that you see that are changing? What are the opportunities? Are there any threats? And really using our members. We've got over 12,000 members across the world now, and so using the membership to be the eyes and ears for us, and then to look thematically at those. And so we would hope that all members would get involved. But if there are other particular areas that you're interested in getting involved in, then please do get in touch. I mean, obviously involvement in our sections and local groups is a good way of keeping in contact or putting yourself forward for some of the positions that come up if you want to get involved more formally. So thank you, Fiona, for your question. Please do put any questions in the chat. You can see that another one has just come in. So bridging novel statistical methods to the climate change community is an interesting goal. I myself, as a statistician, work along the lines of climate and health. Researchers in this particular community are always interested in novel study designs and statistical methodologies that complement these designs. Will this be a long-term goal also include seminars promoting statistical methods and how they might be used in climate research? Yeah, thank you, Rodrigo. I mean, I think that's a good point. And I know that essentially the Climate Change Task Force have two key audiences for their work. One is the public, which I was more focused on when I was talking about reaching out to audiences. But another key audience for their work are other climate change researchers. And so I'm sure that the team would actually be very interested to talk to you about how we might do that bridging. I mean, obviously seminars is one idea. I know that the task force have been thinking through how they might do that. So I'm assuming that we've got access to emails actually, and I can follow up with, and I can ask one of my colleagues to follow up and get in touch with you, because it sounds as if you might have some useful ideas. Please do keep the questions coming, and don't feel that you need to wait until the previous one has been answered before you put your questions in the chat.
And I think I would say, one of the major pillars that we have is that facilitating innovation and growth, and really thinking about the evolution of the profession, but also the evolution of methodologies to emerging areas, and that need for partnerships. And as we said, sort of by collaborating and working together, we maximize the impact that we have, and really fostering those relationships with key groups.
We've got a few more minutes if people have any further questions that they wanted to ask, so please do pop them in the chat. But if not, then I think we will say thank you all very much and hope that you have found this session useful. We'll be running it again next week, or the week after next, I think. So if you've got, oh no, hang on, I can see another question has appeared. What in particular do you see as being the goals of the task force? Are there any outcomes that you would like it to achieve? I'm assuming that you're talking about the climate change task force here, Kieran. And yes, we do have the AI task force. Okay, thank you. So for the AI task force, at the moment, we are at the stage of recruiting to the task force. So we do have terms of reference that set out the goals. I mean, this is essentially the main aim of the task force is to be a communication tool across the various groups at the RSS who are involved in AI and data science to make sure that they're all aware of what the others are doing. And then through that, to then enable us to be more strategic and to amplify, for example, messages into the public domain that come from those groups. Because there's a feeling at the moment, or it's certainly something that I have recognised since I've started at the RSS, that although there's some really great work being done, it's happening within pockets at the moment, and there isn't a good enough connection between those groups and staff in the head office who are involved in AI activities, or between those groups themselves. So primarily, it's a communication tool, but standing on that communication is our ability to better articulate the needs of our members, particularly our practitioner members, around AI and to be able to influence. But one of the first tasks of that group will be to put together a plan for for the work of the task force and our goals within AI that aligns with our strategy. So a question from Tom: do you envisage the international strategy taking several years to establish, or is it that other things are clearer and more immediate priorities? There are more immediate priorities, Tom. I would have absolutely loved to have got my teeth into the international strategy in year one, but there are more pressing priorities in relation to the sustainability of the RSS. So, for example, if we want to do more internationally, we're going to need to be able to fund it, and so essentially we need to be able to generate more income and diversify our income to then enable us to take on more ambitious areas of our strategy in future years. That said, it's not that nothing will happen in this first year. And so, from my perspective as a new CEO, I'm going to be spending some of my time investing in those relationships, building relationships, finding out more about the international community and what the opportunities could be, so that then when we turn our attention and hopefully in a financial position to enable us to be more ambitious in the future, we've got that groundwork already completed, and so we can make a head start. That's a good question. Thank you. Yeah. Any more questions before we finish? Okay, well, we're just 10 minutes ahead of time, and so I think we will finish there. And again, just say thank you very much, Jen. Thank you to the staff who have. Oh no, we have got another one. How does fostering business use of statistics feature in the strategy? I would say that would come into a couple of areas. It probably comes into. I'm just going back to our goals. It probably comes into enabling a strong and diverse profession, in the sense that we will have statisticians working in business, and so it's about making sure that they are supported in their roles. And I think it also comes under supporting public understanding and engagement, in the sense that actually there may be some businesses who don't properly engage services and the opportunities that statistics can bring in their work, and it's about opening up those opportunities. So that's where I would say it would fit. I will also be honest with you and say I don't think we've got any sort of programs running at the moment that absolutely directly do that. But it's certainly something that we can consider. If it's something that we have some more detail on in future years. Jen, do you want to say anything more to that?
No, those were the two areas that I was going to mention, that we want to spend some time understanding our diversity within the membership and ensuring that everybody is recognised and supported, and understanding that, you know, not all of our members are from academia and all of our members are in official statistics. You know, we have a mix of industry, academia, official statistics, and really understanding what does our membership look like, and are we supporting everybody. And, you know, we really did have as well a conversation about the fact that it's not just about supporting statisticians who would say, I am a statistician, but that, you know, we are now a data generation, and we're seeing so much more data than we ever have done previously. And there are so many professions who will work with data as part of their role, and it's making sure that they are supported, and can work with a sound working understanding. So I think, you know, I would just agree that it's about understanding our diverse profession, but also supporting that understanding and engagement with data and statistics.
Thank you, Kieran, for your question. Okay, shall I try for a third time to finish and just see if anybody else pops a question in the chat? I'll give 30 more seconds. Probably not quite 30, but I think we've probably exhausted you. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. Thanks to those who have posed questions. Please do think about the strategy in relation to your work, and particularly if you're part of one of our sections or local groups. What does this mean for you, and you know, how will it influence your activities going forward? And you know, what would you like to do to support the development of the strategy through getting involved in some of the initiatives that we have in train? And thank you again to Jen and the staff involved in putting together behind the scenes. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.